Hello everybody, I am Aarstad and today I'm back with a brand new Doctor Who Series 12 discussion video. Last time we talked about the Timeless Child, whether it will be an actual character, an actual story arc, or whether it was just a one-liner from the big man Chris Chibnall himself. But today we're talking about death in Doctor Who, or maybe departures from Doctor Who more specifically. We all know by now, in terms of Doctor Who, logic, every couple of years the TARDIS team shifts, whether it stays, it barely ever stays the same, because actors like to move on from Doctor Who. Some don't want to be typecast, some feel like they've done enough with their story, some writers feel like they want to write people out of the show for their own reasons. So it's almost inevitable that within the next series or two we're probably going to have some changes within the TARDIS team. So assuming that something happens in Series 12 perhaps, I'd like to explore, who could be leaving the TARDIS, whether that means actually departing on their own terms, dying, anything like that. Death just sounds better in the title and it's a bit more striking. So yeah, we're going to be talking about that today. So yeah, let's just get right into it, I suppose. So as I previously mentioned with Doctor Who logic, I don't feel like a TARDIS team including 3 modern day Earth companions, I don't think they're all going to last until Series 13. I do genuinely feel that at least one of them will leave at the end of Series 12 or during Series 12 or something like that. So we're going to break down each individual character, talk about, is it likely, is it less likely, all that sort of thing. And then I'm going to finish the video off with my own personal theory and see what you guys think. First of all, Graham. Let's talk about Graham. Okay, so Graham's the big one. All the way from The Woman Who Fell to Earth and that one line about him, going through cancer treatment, everyone was like, well, that's going to come back at some point. That's going to come back and it's going to be sad and horrible and we're going to watch Bradley Walsh slowly die on screen and it's going to be really emotional and down to earth and hard-hitting. But, we don't know. That's just one of those things that cropped up. I think he is most likely to die, or leave the show, in my opinion. Bradley Walsh, as an actor, he's a very busy man, and I know he can do it. Of course he can do it. I mean, he's doing The Chase all the way through Series 11 and Series 12. He's doing that show abroad with his son. He's doing loads of stuff, left, right, and centre, across different TV networks. He's signing up for different shows and stuff. He's, he does singing occasionally. He does so much. It's honestly ridiculous. I can't even begin to think about opening a CV page just to read it off because I would be here all week. That being said, Bradley Walsh is a busy guy, and I don't think he'll stick around for Doctor Who for more than 2 series. So I think out of the 3, Bradley Walsh is probably the most likely for me to sort of depart from the show soon, sooner rather than later. So that's one of the big things as well. Not only is he the one that fans are thinking, oh, he's one of the ones that could be set up to die, because that's the emotional thing, Graham is probably the most lovable character of Series 11 in terms of, who fans attach themselves to. People love Graham. Graham is lovable. Same reasons we love Wilf or Rory's dad or, like any of those different characters. They're sort of like older men, but, still adventurous, still fun, still entertaining, and probably like one of the main crux of the new TARDIS crew in terms of Graham anyway. So it's one of the ones that I think would strike fans the most in terms of emotion if he died or left or whatever. But I also feel like it makes more sense as well in terms of a real life perspective because of Bradley Walsh. He's a very, very busy man. Now we'll talk about Ryan. Not overly confident with Ryan leaving, I'll be honest with you. But that being said, I feel like the story, alongside Graham, I feel like the story with Grace and Graham does seem to have kind of wrapped up really nicely in Series 11. And unless there's some sort of other thing to explore within Series 12, I'm not sure where else Ryan's character could go. Because obviously he's around for most of Series 12 anyway. But if he doesn't leave at the end of this series, he'd have to be in another series, and then where could they go with his character, In Series 11, we had the stuff, about him grieving his grandmother, about the lack of, talking about his dead mum, not having a very good relationship with his dad, and not really having a proper grandfather-grandson kind of relationship with Graham. And that all kind of gets wrapped up towards the end of Series 11. Graham and his granddad, they kind of get over Grace's death a little bit by confronting Tim Shaw, and then his dad shows up in Resolution, and they make amends. So a lot of Ryan's issues and main story points, other than being able to ride a bike, have been kind of wrapped up. So as long as he rides a bike at some point in Series 12, maybe he could leave. Right, let's talk about Yasmin Khan. Yaz. to her friends. We don't actually know much about her yet. I feel like we're still kind of exploring her character, and hopefully we're going to see a lot more from her in Series 12. We know we're going to be revisiting the police station. Yaz is going to get back on that scene, and obviously the Jadoons, so there's correlations with police there. Hopefully we get to see more of Yaz in Series 12, but I don't think we'll see enough within the 10-11 episodes for her to depart at the end of it. And I'll talk about this in my own theory specifically, but I think Yaz is definitely the least likely out of the three to leave or die from the TARDIS team at the moment. She hasn't had an amazing amount of development in Series 11, which is, there's nothing wrong with that at all. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. That's perfectly fine. It's just that to kind of get rid of her at the end of Series 12, it seems like, yeah, although fans might not love her yet, it's like, it just feels a bit stupid because it feels like we had nothing from her. Like, she could have been taken out of most of Series 11, and I've talked about this before. I think Yaz should have actually joined the TARDIS team at the end of Resolution. She should have popped up in all the different Earth stories and be like, oh, how are you doing? Where have you been? And then actually join the TARDIS team in Resolution to have a major part in Series 12 as a proper companion. That would have been cool, but we didn't get that, and I didn't think we got enough development in Series 11, so I think there's more places to go. Series 12, a bit more Yaz focused, and then see where we can take that with Series 13 potentially. Right, now let's talk about sort of my theory on the whole death, the leaving the TARDIS scenario. Now, I've talked to a lot of people on Twitter and Discord about this over the last few months, talking about the possibility and how they go about it, and I kind of came up with this sort of theory as a crux for, if I was running the show and I was writing this sort of story, here is exactly how I'd do it. Through Series 11, Graham explored, themes with his character, especially Ryan as well, about grief, about losing a loved one, someone in the family, in something horrible and sort of uncalled for. In episode 1, Grace died there and then, and it was very sudden, especially for Doctor Who fans that were used to Moffat's era of people being killed off and then brought back the next episode. It was quite sudden and quite impactful, and I think that played a very big part in the series. They wanted to go home and in Arachnid in the UK, they did, and obviously Graham explains that being at home actually isn't what they need. He felt like he needed to get on the TARDIS to get away from home, because sitting at home is just going to make the grief worse, and to actually deal with losing a loved one, he feels it's better for him to go aboard the TARDIS, do adventures, and kind of live his life. That's putting it simply. It was phrased better in the actual show itself. It's also been established that Ryan's dad is now around and wanting to see Ryan, whenever Ryan gets home. He didn't want to come along on the TARDIS. He was actually invited, but he did politely turn it down, but just said, keep in contact with us, mate. Don't just abandon us, like I did. So let's say Graham dies in Series 12 on an adventure, maybe in the TARDIS. You could have Ryan's grief of Graham's death reflect exactly what Graham was saying in Series 11. Ryan perhaps is a bit overcome with grief, and because he really bonded more with Graham on the TARDIS and adventures than he ever did before that, maybe he associates Graham with the TARDIS and it's the opposite. So Graham wanted to get away from home to, grieve properly. Ryan wants to get away from the TARDIS to grieve properly. It lines up, as George Lucas would say, it's like poetry, it rhymes. Ryan could go and then live with his dad, the whole thing about the proper family was explored in the previous series, but if Graham gets a funeral scene, and then he lives with his dad, that's the end of Ryan's character. You could have Ryan leave the TARDIS, you could have Graham die. It's a big, impactful way to end Series 12, and it's something that I would definitely think about if I was writing the show. Now, thankfully, I'm not, because I'm not a professional, but realistically, that's the kind of approach I'd take it. And if you want to take it a step further, let's talk about the Doctor. A lot of people had minor grievances with the fact that Jodie Whittaker's Doctor really isn't as dark as the previous Doctors. Some fantastic emotional moments came from Chris Eccleston, David Tennant, Matt Smith, and Peter Capaldi when it got to really troubling, deep, darker moments of those characters, and we haven't seen that with Whittaker yet. Now, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Whittaker's got her own characterization, she's got her own kind of thing, but if people want to see that, Whittaker in Resolution did, by her own mistake, almost cause Ryan's dad to go flying into a sun. So, taking that into account, what if we have Whittaker, in a happy-go-lucky style, just totally overlook something and end up resulting in what kills Graham? It's her fault, in a way. Not directly, she doesn't just shoot him in the face, but from an action she's done, it's actually affected Graham in the long run. It's killed him, and it's affected Ryan, it's affected morale on the team, whatever. Not only could you have Graham's death, him taking him out the show, Ryan leaving the show to go and live, you know, with his dad, all that sort of thing. But then for series 13, you've got the 13th Doctor and you've got Yaz. But the 13th Doctor perhaps is a bit more grief-struck in herself, guilty almost for what happened the previous series. She loves the fam, but she's ended up tearing it apart. I think that's beautiful, and I think that would be a fantastic concept to explore, especially considering how talented Jodie Whittaker can be in terms of a depressing, grieving character, as we've seen in Broadchurch a hell of a lot. I would like to see this, but it's kind of unlikely because, you know, it's a fan theory at the end of the day. It's totally up to me. But yeah, do let me know what you think about this in the comments below. I would like to know as well, who out of the 3 companions would you most like to die or leave the show in series 12, and who would you expect to leave or die? Because you might want, like, Ryan to leave, but you might expect Graham to leave. It's one of those things, so just let me know, and, you know, how would you do it if you were writing the show as well? I've already given my theory, but if you were writing it, if you were going about it, how would you do it? Let me know in the comments. I'd be very, very interested. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, comment below for, you know, all that stuff I talked about before. Subscribe to the channel with notifications on, because YouTube's a little bit of a mess at the moment. We've got a Patreon page for early access content, and if you want to just support the channel in general, that is there. We've also got a Discord server if you want to join, talk about Doctor Who, talk about all this other stuff as well. You know, it's totally up to you, but it's a nice little community at the moment, which is hopefully going to grow in the future, and you can get involved, and yeah, it's all fun. I've also got Twitter, Instagram, all that sort of stuff, and that's all linked in the description below, so you can go and check that out down there. Anyway, that's it from me. Hope you had a lovely day, and I will see you all next time. Bye bye.